Hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry about the delay or whatever. It's all a learning curve or whatever. But anyway, my name is Michael McDaniel, born July 12, 1980, from Charlestown Junior High. I'm from Charlestown, West Virginia. 42 years old. Birthday is July 12th, 1980. So, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I have 3 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I grew up with a mother, I never had a dad in my life. Growing up for us was, very difficult, challenging. We wasn't allowed to do a lot, with the neighborhood kids. Definitely was homeless at a young age. Went through some physical abuse, mental abuse. And my mother, she did struggle with drinking. So as I got older or whatever, and started working a program myself, I guess I started to realize, the reason why she was. But anyway, I began to drink and smoke weed around the age 15. By the time I was 17, it was an everyday thing. Drinking, smoking weed, going to the clubs, partying, and all that good stuff. And I also got introduced to a life, on the streets or whatever, just making all the wrong decisions. The decision to try to make money the wrong way didn't last long. I caught my first felony at the age of 19. I seen the paperwork and it said United States of America versus me. I knew things was real, but, I did what, I took my time or whatever, I did it, and, coming home from that experience really didn't teach me nothing or whatever. I continued the same behavior or whatever, but rewinding back to 1999, I had met a female or whatever that I felt like was attractive and all that good stuff. We ended up getting in somewhat of a relationship, and she got pregnant and had my one and only son. I missed a lot of his childhood due to my poor decisions making, being in and out of trouble, going in and out the system. I have a lot of misdemeanors, and I'm a 3-time felon. When I came home from prison, my son was 18 months, and I tried to be there for him, but just making all the wrong decisions or whatever. Like I said, I felt like we was treated unfair by my mom. But, as I got older or whatever, our relationship got better. And when I came home from federal prison or whatever, I would go to my mom's house every day. Like, she held me down while I was in there. She held me down while I was in prison, and even before I went to prison, if I needed help with anything, she would make sure I was good. So I remember being at my mom's. We was both drinking coffee, and I asked her, why she treated me the way she did, and treated us the way she did. And she broke down. She began to cry. I was crying with her, and she explained certain situations or whatever. So I felt like that was her way of making amends to me, which I truly appreciate. I wasn't even home from federal prison a whole year. I remember working at Dollar General store in Ransom, West Virginia. I got a phone call, say, "Hey, Michael, I think you need to get to your house. Your mom's not doing well." Finally got to her house or whatever, walked into the apartment that she was living in, and I seen my mom laying out on the floor, not responsive. So, of course, they continued to work on her, and they got her in the ambulance and took her to the hospital. The doctors tried to do all they could do, but I do remember all of us some of my siblings and some of the family members was there. You know, they was on my phone. They was on the phone with my sister that lived in New York State at the time, and they told her that she probably wanted to make it down here as fast as she could. Later that night, they pronounced her dead. I don't know. It just was a struggle, you know, growing up with, you know, she played both roles as my mom and my dad. And, you know, as I got older, I just continued to use that extra excuse of why I should continue to drink and just do the dumb stuff that I was doing. I don't know, it's still rough at times, you know. I wish she was still here. I wish she was able to see the man that I turned out to be. But anyway, so from the age, like I said, from the age 19 to like 34 years old, it was the same story, just in and out of prison, in and out of jail. I remember at the age of like 27, you know, I was really struggling with alcohol. And at that time, I had got introduced to another substance, and it was cocaine. The first time I used it, I enjoyed how it made me feel. I also loved the fact that it allowed me to drink more. You know, drinking was by far my drug of choice, and if I could find something that would allow me to drink more, that's just what it was. I struggled with alcohol, cocaine, benzos, and then like at the end it was pain pills. But back to the age when I was like 27 years old, I remember waking up, it was a Sunday. Back then you couldn't buy alcohol on Sundays, so it was a certain time. I felt confused just walking around, and just something wasn't clicking right. And I remember stopping at a friend's house, and me and him was talking. I let him know, I was like, you know, I don't feel good. I think I need to go to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, whatever, they took me straight to the emergency, took me straight into the emergency room, and I started experiencing alcohol withdrawals. Constant shakes. You know, the doctors, nurses was doing whatever they could do to try to get me stable. I ended up staying in the hospital for 4 days or whatever. First night was ICU. But again, it didn't, you know, it really didn't stop my drinking or whatever. I continued on. And that's, you know, that's just how it was. You know, I used to use all the excuses of why I do this or why I do that. You know, thinking now it's excuses. You could use good excuses or whatever, or why I should drink, why I should make this decision, or why I should make that decision. Today I try to refrain from those excuses. I think my turning point in life was 38 years old. I was with my wife. We was hanging out with a couple friends, and you know, me and her, we had took a ride, and we came back to the place that we was at, and we got swarmed by numerous cops, sheriffs, and you know, we was all under arrest. You know, I ain't had nothing to say to the cop. Went to jail. They set our bond at $250,000. I didn't have that kind of money to get out, so of course they took me to population, and it just sucked in. It was just like, man, I guess this is going to be where I'm going to be at the rest of my life and for the next 15 years, because just I'm a 3-time felon. I sat in there for 10 days. We had our preliminary hearing, and I was able, my lawyer had asked the prosecutor, whatever, to drop my bond from $250,000 to $30,000. And that happened, and I was able to get out of jail. And part of my bond was day report. I truly believe day report is a good program to keep people out of the system, but at the same time, you got to go in there and you got to put the work in. And I didn't. You know, I had one phase where I went like 70 days, you know, no drinking, no drugging. And, you know, I woke up and it was a beautiful day out and I just had money in my pocket and I said, I'm going to drink. And that's what I did. So April 14th, 2019, I go inside day report and they said, Mr. McDaniel, we're going to give you two options. We either going to discharge you from this program and 9 times out of 10 you'll go back to jail, or we'll give you the option to go to treatment. And of course I took, you know, the treatment. I addressed to them that I couldn't go that day. I was like, I had to say my goodbyes to my family, had to get my stuff packed, wash clothes. All that was just a lie. I just wanted that last day to get lit up, and that's what I did. So April 15th, 2019 is my sobriety date. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law, may he continue to rest in peace, you know, they picked me up from the place I was staying at, and we took that 4-hour trip to Parkersburg, West Virginia. That ride there, it was like everything just sat in. I felt lonely, the self-pity, playing the victim, all that good stuff that goes into, like when you're out there in active addiction, all of that just hit me at once. And we get to Parkersburg, West Virginia. We pull up to this facility, and I was like, this is not where I want to be. I felt like I didn't need to be there. But my mother-in-law made it clear. She said, Michael, I will not pick you up from this place until you graduate this program. And those words definitely stuck with me. So I said my goodbyes to them, you know, going there and meeting, you know, new faces or whatever. And I'm hearing these people saying, you know, we're glad you're here. We love you. And I'm saying to myself, like, how can you love me? I don't know y'all. Y'all don't know me. But now they make sense. So I sat in detox for like 3 days or whatever and got my mind together. My body was feeling a little bit better and I was ready to start the program. So the beginning of that program, you go through OTS. And OTS means off the streets. And off the streets consists of, you know, you get up, you clean, you make your bed, you help with chores, you eat breakfast. You go to classes, which you walk like 2 miles to get there. Didn't matter if it was raining, snowing, like you earned everything that you got there at that program. I seen a lot of people run from there because it was behavior modification. Mind you, drugs and alcohol wasn't a problem for me. I was the problem. And now I'm in a position where I go to this program and I'm able to work on Michael. I went through OTS, you know, I got advanced up to OTS 2. It's pretty much the same scenario. You get a little bit more freedom, but it's the same thing, meeting, classes, chores, cleaning. And after that, you know, in OTS 2, your access to outside meetings and all that, and, you know, they tell you need to start looking for a sponsor. And the cool part about Recovery Point, we had a lot of in-house meetings or whatever, so we had a lot of different speakers that would come to the center and tell their story, something like I'm doing now. And this one guy, he stuck out real good to me. You know, he held no punches, he didn't sugarcoat anything or whatever, and I was like, that's the guy that I needed. And I approached him and I was like, hey, you know, I need a sponsor. And he told me, he was like, you need to write me 4 pages on why you want me to be your sponsor. And I'm saying to myself, like, what? But, you know, I did it. He read it, and he took me on as a sponsee. The cool part, another cool part about that place, Recovery Point, is you are able to work the steps. You know, step 1, being powerless over my addiction, and the whole being unmanageable. Like, I knew that. Like, for once in my life, I was honest with myself and knew I had a problem. I knew my life was definitely unmanageable, and I'm ready to get help now. And I was able to work, you know, steps 1, 2, 3. It came to step 4 and 5 where I got, you know, I dug deep, I pulled the paper out, pen out, and I got the writing. The people I was resentful for, the people that I harmed. And, you know, the list goes on. And step 5, you know, I remember going to a park up there, and we sat in that car for about 2.5, 3 hours, and I just let it all out. And I went back to the center, and I laid down and thought about it. And like for me, I think when I got to steps 8 and 9, when I was able to make my amends with the people that were very close to me, that's when I started feeling, you know, that's when I started feeling better, put it that way. Because I don't know how many times I told my son, my brothers and sisters, you know, my wife, or whoever I was in, you know, with, you know, I won't do this again. I promise you, when I get out of jail, I won't go back to that life. And it was all lies, you know what I mean? I wasn't doing nothing but lying to myself and them as well. But this time it felt different. You know what I mean? I made my amends to the best of my ability. And by the grace of God today, I'm still living by those amends. So I worked steps, you know, 10, 11, 12, and they gave you an option. They gave you an option if you wanted to go out and get a real job, or you could work as a peer mentor inside the building. And, you know, that was the route I took, you know what I mean, to give me more experience, give me the opportunity to try to help people. Because, mind you, helping others helps me. And then, you know, it was time for me to go home, so I had to come up with a plan of action. If this individual is watching right now, I know he didn't like my plan of action, but it worked. Instead of me coming straight home or whatever, like to somebody's houses or whatever, I chose to go to sober living. And it was a good move for me. I stayed in there for about 11 months. And, you know, being in the sober living house, it taught you more responsibilities. You know, get a job. You know, go to meetings. Find another sponsor. You know, make sure your rent's paid on time. And that's what I needed. You know what I mean? I needed that extra guidance, that extra help. And, you know, and it also gave me a little bit more accountability. So after about 11 months, you know, my wife, she had came home from her situation. And, you know, of course, I moved in with her and her parents. And, you know, it was a work in progress for me and her because, like, when we first got married, you know, we both was just partying, drinking, and all that. So, you know, I knew what love was, but at that point in time, I wasn't loving myself. But, you know, everything, you know, we worked with each other, we helped each other, and, you know, we stayed stayed at my in-laws for probably about a year, and, you know, we felt like it was time to get our own place. We found an apartment in Ranson, and I remember going there and talking to the landlord. Never done this a day in my life. You know, he's asking me questions and all that good stuff. And, you know, I was able to give him a good feedback, talk to him like he had some sense, talk to him like I had some sense. And I believe that was the first time my name has been on somebody's lease. So we stayed there for a whole year, and we felt like we needed more space. And excuse me, we found the house that I'm in right now. You know, recovery is an ongoing process. You know, people have their own way of recovering, and I don't knock nobody for what they choose to do. But I know for me, I need to talk to the next addict, alcoholic. I need a sponsor. I need to ask for help. You know what I mean? I need to talk to a family member. I need to just, you know what I mean? When I'm struggling or whatever, I know what to do. The tools that were given to me at Recovery Point, I still live by them like on a daily basis. Am I perfect? I'm far from it. Do I have a lot of work to do on myself? Yes, indeed. You know, my next goal is to try to get my license. I caught a DUI back in 2014. Didn't pay attention to it, went to court, paid the fine, and I just left it alone like, hey, well, you know, I'll get to it when I get to it. I did sign up for my DUI classes in 2001, I believe, and I completed them. Yes, I do have to get a blow and go for 9 months, but I'm okay with that today. I had no desire to go backwards. You know, I have good relationships with the ones that are close to me. You know what I mean? Like I said, I missed a lot of time out of my son's life because of my poor decision making. You know, I was so quick to point the finger at this person, that person, why I couldn't do this or why. But no, it all falls back on me. But when I left Recovery Point Parkersburg, that's who was there to pick me up. My son and his wife, they came and picked me up. You know, I'm very proud of him. I always address to him that I pray that he's a better man than I'll ever be. I pray that he'll be a better father than I ever was. I'm blessed to have an 11-month-old granddaughter who's soon to be 1 on July 19th. She's such a blessing to many. She's such a blessing to me. I love her with everything in me. Beautiful baby. Her face will light up the room. And I'm also grateful that she doesn't have to see her grandfather the way that I once was. You know, life is okay today. Have a great relationship with my significant other. You know, we used to argue back then. We used to fight. But now, you know what I mean, of course we don't see eye to eye once, you know, sometimes or whatever, but truth be told, I can't even get in an argument right nowadays. So if it does come to us arguing, she always wins. Have a good relationship with my siblings. You know, we don't talk as much as we used to just because we're older and we're all doing our own little thing or whatever. But I love them with everything in me, my nieces and nephews. I'm proud of them. I'm truly grateful for my mother-in-law. She never turned her back on me. And you know, I lived underneath her house when I was in active addiction, and I'm just grateful that she never turned her back on me, and she's still for me. She's still with me today. Man, for the ones that are watching, I don't know how many viewers it is, not many or whatever, which is okay, but if there's someone watching right now and if you're struggling with not knowing what to do, if you're struggling, like you want to go to a rehab or whatever, but you're scared to make the phone call, I promise you, it was one of the best things that happened to me. You know, I feel as though God put me in that situation back in October 28th of 2018. You know, it felt like a terrible situation, and it ended up making me the individual that I am today. I remember I was in the rehab for like 9 months, and I was curious to know what was going on with my case or whatever. So I reached out to my lawyer, and he was like, "Well, Mr. McDaniel, you didn't get the paper that I sent?" And I was like, "No, not at all." He said, "Well, they dropped the charges with prejudice, and prejudice means they could bring the case back up. You know, if I were to go out here and do something crazy, and you know, I had no desire to do that. You know, I walk out my back door each and every day, and it's crazy because the Charleston Police Department is right there. But I use that as a reminder not to go out here and do nothing dumb like I used to be known for. I'm blessed to be able to work at Mountaineer Behavioral Health, which is the rehab that the Eastern I believe the only rehab that the Eastern Panhandle has. I'm a full-time tech/peer. You know, I walk in that facility and I get appreciated for the work that I do. And it's also a reminder as well when you see the newcomers in there when they fresh off the streets and how they feel. You know, I don't want to ever go back to that guy that I once was, but you know, just to be able to help them, to facilitate groups, to try to share my story is a very humbling experience. You know, today like a month ago, I was able to go watch my son graduate from basic training. I flew for the first time. I know that was something that I probably would never have done when I was in active addiction. And, you know, I always ask myself, how was I going to be able to enjoy going to the beach sober? Well, the first time I went, it was me, my son, his wife, and my wife, and I had a blast sober. I've been about 4 times after that, but you know, I try to not get caught up on the little things that's happening in my life today. I try to remain humble, and one thing that's important to me is I don't want to forget where I came from. I don't want to be that guy that gets numerous times of sobriety and, you know, I forgot about all the dumb stuff that I've done. Like, no, you know, my past is to remind me not to define me. My past is my past for a reason, but I still can't forget where I came from. You know, life is good today. You know what I mean? Like I said, I still got work to do amongst myself. But I promise you, one of the biggest gains that I got from my sobriety is when I look in the mirror today, I'm able to love the person that I see today. That's a feeling I never, ever want to lose. I'm able to love me today, and being able to love me today gives me the opportunity to love the ones that are right there by me. I just want to say thank you to Tara. You know, it was a challenge today trying to get all this situated. I'm glad it actually worked out the way it did. I made a video and it was only like 19 minutes long. You know, I've shared my story numerous times, but it's pretty much me standing in the front of a crowd. And truthfully, I feel like I do it better that way. You know, I am nervous right now, but I'm trying. And with that being said, I appreciate the viewers. I appreciate the ones who are watching. Like I said, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. You got the Hope Dealer Project. You know, you got the Resource Center. You got Day Report. You got Mountaineer. You got Recovery Point. I'm still connected with the guys at Recovery Point, Parkersburg. A lot of them work in the field of recovery. So there's help all throughout the state of West Virginia. Don't be afraid. Stop suffering. You know what I mean? Stop putting your body in that pain that you're going through. Reach out for help. Don't be ashamed of your story. You know what I mean? Just, you know, life is life. You know what I mean? We have our ups and downs or whatever, but you know, there's help out there for you in all aspects of life. But with that being said, man, I definitely appreciate y'all letting me share.